practice owner, breakthrough coach, and therapist. And I am joined by the super smart and always fly therapist, Miss Cetara. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing really good.
Yay, I'm so excited to see you this evening. So we've been talking about relationships, and we've been talking about all the things that our mamas did not tell us, and maybe they didn't even know, right? The things they got right and the things they got wrong. So Cetara, what's some things that you feel like your mom really got right? And what's some things that you feel like you've had to shift that consciousness a little bit?
Yes. So I think one of the things that my mom taught me that was really healthy was how to speak up, right? So my mom is a very bold personality, and she never really held her tongue. And that could be a good thing sometimes, and sometimes that could be a really bad thing. But I think in terms of relationships, for myself, right, I kind of took on some of those similar characteristics. And so even if I didn't say things right, I at least said something. And I think that's a part of having healthy relationships, is being able to kind of fumble through that, where it's like, okay, even if I said something and maybe it's offensive or maybe it wasn't politically correct or whatever the case was, at least I said it and it can be addressed. And if I needed to own up or take responsibility for something or the way I said something later, then I can. I feel like as I've grown in my communication, I've become better with being, I guess, being able to be direct and being able to speak up, but being more sensitive towards people, right? Because I think my mom was very much like rough around the edges. And so I kind of was that way as well. But sometimes people aren't very receptive towards that. And so I've learned as I've gotten older and as I've matured and have different experiences, to be able to have conversations with people and let them know what's going on, but learning how to be gentle and learning how to be considerate of them and how they're feeling as well.
I love it. And in Gottman, which is like relationship therapy, we just call that like a soft startup. Like you can have any conversation, but if you come to it with the gentleness, a softer startup, it's just received better and it doesn't create any conflict in having the conversation that needs to be had. That's really cool. So what's something else that you learned?
So I guess on the opposite end, something that I learned that maybe wasn't the best that I had to like change later on in my life was just not being very open, right? So growing up, my mom was very much a private person, and she never really shared a lot of information. She was very suspicious of people, and there's various reasons for that because of her upbringing and some of the things that she went through related to trauma. But because of that, because she was the parent I was around the most, I kind of ended up being that way as well. So I could be in friendships with people and people would really think they knew me very well. I could be friends with them for 8 years and I knew them very well, but I was very surface level with them, right? And so in a way I started to learn how to like avoid intimacy because it was a way for me to protect myself. But later on, I feel like as I went through my own healing journey, I was able to recognize like the power of being vulnerable and how that allowed me to be connected with people. And that wasn't such a scary thing, right? I could still be vulnerable with someone and I didn't have to lose my power in the midst of that. So that was kind of the journey that I had to go on independently. It's not something that my mom taught me. She kind of taught me the absolute opposite. But I feel like through my own experiences, I kind of learned the importance of being vulnerable and opening up. And it feels nice to be at a place in my life where I feel like people actually know me.
Love that. I love that. So far here, we want to be open. We want to be able to share in a way that it can be received. You have something else for us before we go?
Yes. So I guess something else that I learned that was kind of like the opposite of what my mom taught me, right, was how to be flexible. And this is something that is like an ongoing learning process for me. But I feel like my mom was like a very strong, beautiful, powerful woman, but she was like always in control of everything, right? And so I feel like growing up, that's something I always wanted. I always wanted to be in control. And I think some of that had to do with trust too. If you don't trust other people, then you can't really trust other people to be in control, right? So you always need to have control. But there's issues with that because life happens and there's so many things that are going on around you where you don't have control over them. And that can drive you crazy within a very short period of time, right? And so something that I've learned, I think especially in my 30s specifically, is just learning how to be more flexible. There's things that are going to happen that I don't expect. There's things I'm going to plan for that end up, falling through the roof and they end up not happening. And sometimes you just have to roll with the punches. And sometimes it's a good thing because there's a lot of unexpected things that happen in my life that I didn't plan for. And I look back now and I'm like, oh, that's one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I think too, like being at this place in my life, it's nice to be flexible because then, and I'm not dealing with that resentment or the anger or the anxiety that is tied to always having to have control all the time, because it's impossible. You can't, I don't even have full control over myself.
Right.
Right. So it's important for me to be flexible and just to be open, like, okay, things didn't go my way. It's okay. It's for a reason. How can I make adjustments? So yeah, that's most definitely something that I learned. Yeah.
Those are so good. Your mom will be proud. Your mama is proud. I already know she's proud. So good. Thank you so much for sharing. If you want to work with Cetara, please reach out to us at VisionWorks Coaching. Jasmine will get you guys connected. Until next time, have an amazing time, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again, Cetara.
Thank you so much.